Hello everyone and welcome to the meeting. I'm Dan.
I'm Alex.
And I'm Kuhrt.
We're here today to discuss the consumer decision making process, or CDMP, and how it has affected the marketing of the Nokia Lumia 950. The CDMP is a step-by-step process that takes place in the minds of consumers as they progress from the initial acknowledgement of desiring a product or service through to the actual purchase and afterthoughts on the purchase. Consumers will sculpt their own version of the decision-making process on what they are intending to purchase. For example, significantly more research will be undertaken when buying a car, as opposed to deciding what breakfast cereal to buy. This is because the perceived risk of purchase increases relatively to the level of involvement of a product. Perceived risks associated with a product can include financial, social, physical, functional, and/or psychological. High involvement products are often associated with a greater amount of risk, as they are usually more significantly expensive or a product of significant importance to the organisation or individual, i.e. plant machinery for a day-to-day production, purchasing property to expand a retail outlet chain, or in our case, purchasing a new phone. For products such as these, the consumer will go through all 5 steps of the CDMP and in some cases repeat some of the stages. Products that are considered to be of low consumer involvement are associated with lower amounts of risk. These are often day-to-day purchases or items that are frequently repurchased. As such, the consumer will often skip several stages in the CDMP as higher levels of involvement are not required. As the Lumia 950 is a high involvement product, we will be outlining all 5 steps of the CDMP. The Lumia 950 was released in November 2015 and it is the first smartphone to run Windows 10. It included added security features such as Windows Hello and included a much more friendly user interface.
The first stage of the CDMP is the acknowledgement of need recognition. This occurs when a consumer is confronted with an unfulfilled desire within a product category or exposed to external stimuli which creates a perceived need for a product. Need recognition predominantly originates from the self in regards to an immediate state of deprivation. In other words, this is a desire that must be fulfilled within a short-term period. This awareness of self-deprivation is referred to as internal stimuli, which includes things like hunger, thirst, and immediate desire. Wants and needs may occasionally appear to be synonymous. However, the main distinction between them is the manner in which they are triggered. Needs generally relate to basic human requirements, such as food and drinkable water, in order to sustain us through life. Wants are perceived needs, which are things that we think we can get along fine without, such as a new luxury car. Wants and needs can become difficult to distinguish, especially in the progressively materialistic world in which we live, where something that was perceived as a luxurious commodity or want a few years back is now perceived as a need.
Maslow's hierarchy of needs can be a useful tool in establishing the difference between wants and needs, although it was originally intended to be a progressive order of motivation. As the pyramid structure demonstrates, the lower levels are the most important, and as you progress higher up the hierarchy of needs, you reach the successive state of need. The first 3 levels are easily satisfied for the majority of people living in the first world. Once people reach the point of esteemed needs, distinguishing between needs and wants can be a little ambiguous. When referring to a recognition and status, the intended meaning for those as a need should be that people hold certain positioning which makes them feel superior to what they were before. It should not translate to a want such as owning a new Porsche or feeling superior to other people. Perceived needs are predominantly influenced or triggered by external stimuli. External stimuli are triggers that will cause an individual or group to believe that they should purchase a certain product or service. There are many forms of external stimuli, all of which work through one or more of the 5 senses of the human body.
As of April 2016, it is estimated that approximately 83% of computer users worldwide are using the Windows platform, with Apple's OS X only making up approximately 9%. If Apple is so famous for its seamless integration across multiple platforms, we need to ensure that Microsoft has a smartphone that not only integrates its features just as well as its competitors, but better. The Windows Phone platform uses applications such as Microsoft Word and PowerPoint, as well as Internet Explorer that the consumer is already well versed in.
The second stage of the CDMP is the search for information. This is where the consumer, be it individual or group, will search through a variety of information on many products and alternatives which they believe will satisfy their need or want the best. There are also different ways in which consumers search and receive information about products and services. The primary method in which consumers, be it individual or group, will search for information is through an internal information search. For an individual, the internal search for information is when they recall past information stored in their memory and that from previous experience. If they have little experience with the product or within the product category, then they're more likely to focus their search with greater intensity on an external information search. When a group of individuals, such as a department meeting, are beginning a search for information, their internal search may be a collective internal search of past experience within the designated product category of all the individuals present at the meeting. After which, they may decide they need more information or alternatives, and thus designated individuals will begin an external information search. Consumers will often require more information than they possess internally. The search for information will eventually lead them to seek information externally. External information is limitless for many product categories, and thus near impossible for a consumer to access all available information. Due to this, the consumer will prioritise which information they access in regards to the importance or relevance of the information and how easily accessible it is. Depending on where the consumer searches for information, they will find some that is either marketing controlled or non-marketing controlled.
Marketing controlled information is obtained from sources which hold no direct influence from the marketers associated with the product. These can be vast and highly informative, stemming from a range of sources. Although non-marketing controlled sources do not originate from the marketers from the product, does not mean they are impartial. Individuals will often ask acquaintances who are more experienced in the product category than themselves. These people are known as opinion leaders. As the opinion leader may be more knowledgeable, they will still base his advice over his own experience and brand performance, hence giving their own bias on the subject. Sources of marketing controlled information are generally much more intentional and created specifically to draw consumers' attention to their brand ahead of others within the same product category. These include things like mass media advertising, campaigns, social media sponsorship, packaging, and brand label association. People often distrust clear-cut advertising campaigns and will conscientiously disregard all information through which some of why brands, such as Red Bull, have developed a brand image that associate their product with a certain lifestyle rather than what the product actually does. Marketers will often aim to influence opinion leaders into liking their product, which ends up being a form of free endorsement. This turns a source of non-marketing controlled information into one that is marketing controlled and aimed at their product, which can be incredibly effective.
A consumer who's considering purchasing a Lumia 950 will probably begin their information search online, as is typical of this day and age. The first non-sponsored Google link when gathering information about the phone is the Microsoft product page. On the page, we've made it as consumer-friendly as possible with an uncluttered screen to help decipher information. And we've even added a See Offers feature where potential purchasers are able to compare prices and get the best deal straight off our website to simplify the customer purchasing experience. We should offer a select amount of free handsets to certain business leaders who are looked to as opinion leaders to develop a form of marketing-controlled information.
Once consumers have gathered information on a range of products that they feel suit their interests suitably, and eliminated options which do not, they will have constructed an evoked set. All considered alternatives in the evoked set will be further evaluated to determine which specific one shall be purchased. The typical evoked set for consumers in the smartphone markets are the flagship model of Apple's iPhone 6s, Samsung Galaxy S6, and the Lumia 950. Consumers will also generate an inert set, which is composed of brands and products which they hold no positive or negative significance. These products are unlikely to be considered for purchase by the consumer. However, some random factors can influence last-minute purchase decisions. The buyer will also have a list of products which they wish to avoid. This is the inept set and can be a result of previous negative experience with the product or brand, or a negative opinion formed from research they have conducted during their information search. The inept set is unlikely to be considered under any circumstances. However, once an evoked set of products has been determined, the consumer will narrow down and eliminate their considered options to a single product. This decision can be based on many different criteria used to compare strengths and weaknesses of each option.
Consumers will strategically reduce their evoked set through two main characteristic sets, objective and subjective. The objective characteristics relate to the features and functionality of the product itself. During a logic-based decision-making process, the objective characteristics would primarily determine the final decision. However, consumers also make their decision based on a set of subjective characteristics, which relate to the perceived value of a brand or product holds in the mind of the consumer. This relates to the prior experience that the consumer has had with the same company in the past, positive or negative, and the added value which the brand name alone adds to the product. For example, many designer brands can offer the same quality and style as other brands, but with a significantly increased price tag and for the sole reason that it was made for their brand logo on it. One way of narrowing down decision is to focus on the main product attributes and rule out options which do not include them. Alternatively, for each attribute, consumers will set minimum and maximum cutoff limits which determine the desired amount of attribute required for the product. i.e., when buying a computer, you will need it to be powerful enough to run required software, but an overpowered computer may be too expensive. If multiple attributes are significant, they can be ranked in order of importance to determine which product has most or all of the desired attributes.
Therefore, we have a product that will look more impressive on paper than the alternatives. We have a display with a pixel density of 564 pixels per inch, a substantially greater screen resolution than the flagship Apple iPhone 6s at only 326 ppi, and very comparable to the Samsung Galaxy S6 at 577 ppi. A big factor when purchasing phones, as it is a social device now just as much as a communication tool, is the camera. The Lumia 950 features a 20 megapixel camera, capturing Ultra HD 4K video, almost double the resolution of the iPhone 6s's 12 megapixel, and better than the S6's 16 megapixel. The phone features a removable 3000 amp hour battery, outperforming the iPhone 6's 1715 and the S6's 2550 amp hour, as battery life is an incredibly important factor in the modern smartphone purchasing. The Lumia 950 not only comes with a 32GB internal memory, matching the S6 and doubling the base model 6S, but it is the only flagship model to feature expandable memory up to a whopping 200GB of storage. Added security features include the introduction of Windows Hello, the iris scanning recognition software which winks at you as it recognises your eye, a playful feature to increase customer satisfaction. Microsoft has a smartphone that not only integrates as well as its competitors, but innovates. Therefore, the Nokia 950, the first smartphone to run Windows 10, also features the Continuum feature. This feature allows the user to connect their phone to a monitor and use it exactly as you would a regular computer, as long as you have a portable keyboard and mouse. This innovation is in recognition of the increasing consumer need to simplify and make more portable yet still full Windows experience.
The purchase decision is made by the consumer once they are convinced that they have determined the best possible product that suits their requirements. The decision will depend on the research and elimination process made in previous steps. Although they may believe they have the best option in mind, there are a few cases where the actual purchase may vary at the last moment. If the selected product is out of stock or unattainable, it may be in the consumer's best interest to consider alternatives rather than wait till the product is available again. At the point of sale, a skilled or particularly knowledgeable salesperson may offer advice, which may influence the decision, especially if there were several close runner-ups in the evoked set. Alternatively, consumers may change their mind at the point of sale if they are exposed to other products, especially those that were part of the evoked set, are on sale. This can heavily influence the decision-making process, as for high-performance products, price difference can be a significant factor between options. If a product that was outside of the consumer's budget or an updated model suddenly becomes a viable option, the original purchase decision may be altered.
To ensure that the customer chooses to purchase the Lumia 950, we need to ensure that it is well stocked at all retailers. That way, we try and avoid any customer choosing another phone if the 950 is unavailable. It is also in our best interest to offer incentives to the companies selling the product to ensure that their recommendation when being consulted by customers. The price of the Lumia 950 is almost identical to the alternative flagship models, therefore we need to keep an eye on our competitors and when they are offering manufacturers discounts to ensure that we keep our own prices competitive.
Once the purchase of a product has been made, it is at the end of the consumer's mental process on the matter. The consumer will have certain expectations of the product they have purchased, and if it does not meet those, they can sometimes have the product refunded or exchanged. It is important for marketers to reinforce a positive purchase experience to reduce any lingering doubts consumers may have about their products. There are several approaches companies can take to ensure a positive purchase experience. Some of the more obvious ones are by offering services such as product guarantees, warranties, customer service, and feedback. It is also important for the marketers to give consumers a positive purchase experience, as they may need to make another purchase decision in the future, and a good experience with the product may have a short internal information search alone, resulting in repurchase of the same product or that of a newer model. Certain customers are also worth pleasing, especially if they are opinion leaders who influence the decisions of others.
It is important, therefore, that we work with Microsoft to ensure ongoing support for the platform. Ensuring the phone is highly functional will contribute to the information search for the next time a consumer looks to purchase a smartphone. In the case of major failure, we will offer a replacement or full refund, and in the case of minor failure, we offer repairs or replacements to ensure customer satisfaction for 24 months after the purchase date, provided that the device was used as we intended and without any third-party modifications. A few recommendations that we could make to improve the product is to work on the app support for the phone, as one of the major criticisms of the Windows mobile platform is that it is lacking in popular apps found on the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. The Microsoft Map application could also be improved, as users have found it to be unreliable. To summarise, the Lumia 950 fulfills the consumer's needs by having the best specifications on the market compared to other flagship phones. It makes use of applications and programs that people are comfortable with and have lots of experience with. The addition of the Continuum feature allows for an even more convenient, portable full Microsoft experience, solidifying it as the phone for the modern businessman.